the must-see Raiders news and storylines heading into Week 6 against the Tennessee Titans. My name is Mitchell Renz. I am the host of the Raiders Report, and what you guys are going to see right now on this segment is me discussing and breaking down the top stories going on right now around Raider Nation as we get ready to go up to take on the Tennessee Titans. Now, if you do not know, I am going to be live this week at all the times that you see right now here on screen. If you do not know when I go live, here's a quick little key to do it. If you hit that subscribe button, and if you turn on those notifications every time I go live, every time I drop a video, you will be notified. That I can guarantee you. And you might have missed it. I talked a little bit about Jermaine Pratt. If you missed that show, it's probably because you're not subscribed. Let's go to the first storyline here, though, around the Raiders, and it's heading in to Week 6. Is the Pete Carroll and John Spytek regime worse than the Josh McDaniels and Antonio Pierce regime? And I say that because, to me, Josh McDaniels and Antonio Pierce, they had no identity. Pete Carroll and John Spytek team has no identity. And I look at the product on the field in the first 5 games. The Las Vegas Raiders underneath Pete Carroll and John Spytek, the first 5 games, are in fact worse than Josh McDaniels and the Antonio Pierce-led Raiders teams. It's a fact whether you want to look at wins and losses, whether you want to look at it from a talent standpoint. Right now, it is a worse overall regime. And I say that because the Raiders are 1-4. They look completely hopeless, and they are failing as an organization. Pete said that he expected to be winning. He said this offseason that, quote, the Raiders are going to do a lot of winning this season. I don't care what anybody else says. So not only did your coaching staff think that they were going to win, but outside of the 2025 draft class, who else looks good? Because Genty's the only guy that I have any confidence in right now moving forward. We're a 1-4 football team that's got no identity, that kind of looks like it's in a rebuild, yet we're not playing any of our young players. And then we're failing in all 3 phases of the game. We're failing on offense. We're failing on defense. We're failing on special teams. And now you got players that are quitting on you, and now you got players and coaches going at it in the locker room. And I know Jermaine Pratt was released by the Raiders on Monday, and if you didn't see the video that I put out on Monday, there's other shit that is brewing right now between the Raiders. But when you have failing on all 3 phases, your draft class is bad, you had opportunities to improve in free agency. In my mind right now, I look at this team going, you failed in the draft, you failed this entire offseason, you failed during free agency, you're failing during the season, and now you're failing in all 3 phases of the game, and you have absolutely positively no identity, and you got players inside that locker room that don't agree with your coaches, and you got guys giving up on each other. That is the definition of a big old fat fail, and that's where we stand right now. Let's go to the second storyline here. Will Pete Carroll have the stones to bench Geno Smith? I know Pete already came out on Monday, and he said no other changes are going to be made. Proves to me that Pete Carroll doesn't live by his own mantra. It proves to me that Pete Carroll is a hypocrite. And I'm serious when I say that. Pete, I think you're a hypocrite right now. I'm not saying that you're not a good human being. I'm not saying that you're not an outstanding person. But right now, I'm going to call a spade a spade. And you are the definition of a hypocrite because you are asking all of your players to compete, but you're not asking the number 1 guy that you brought in because you guys are buddy-buddy to go out there and compete. It's really getting annoying. And, Pete Carroll was asked yesterday about the benching of Geno Smith, and this is what he said. I was thinking that there was a reason to do that, but here's the reason why I didn't do that. We need to stay out there and keep practicing. We need to keep practicing. We need the reps. We need the turns. We need to run the system. We need to feel it. We need to see the guys get their opportunities to improve. It's not like a big change. I thought about it because there was a chance to do that. That's not what's necessary. We need to get better to get it right. Now, here's going to be my deal out there. And I know I had a lot of people over the past 24 hours say, Mitch, can you do a video about benching Geno Smith? And can you do a video about potential replacements that the Raiders could go out and get? At this point in the season, my job here as the Raiders Sport host is to make sure that the people that watch this show, that Raider Nation, they have a good time when they watch the show. If you want me to make a video about the top replacements that the Raiders could go out and get, I'll be honest, I don't think they're going to go out and get anybody. I think they already went out and got Kenny Pickett. But I've heard names like Russell Wilson. I've heard names like Shedeur Sanders. I've heard names over and over and over again. Here's my deal to you. If you want me to make a video about benching Geno Smith and going out and getting other quarterbacks, if this video gets 1,000 likes, I'm going to do it. It's going to prove to me that this is the type of content that you want, and if the Raiders aren't going to give you what they want on the field, I'm going to do everything in my power to give you what you want off the field. Let's go to storyline number 3 here. Is Geno Smith's career over already in Las Vegas? Now, I know Pete Carroll said on Monday that he's not going to bench Geno Smith. I hear you loud and clear. So he's going to get another opportunity, and quite frankly, this has got to be the get-right game for Geno. It's got to be the get-right game for the Raiders. You're going up against who I think most people would say is the worst team in the NFL, against the Tennessee Titans. Some people might say it's the Jets who don't have a win yet. Hell, some people might say it's the silver and black. But Pete Carroll said some interesting things after that game. Geno Smith also said some interesting things after the game against the Colts, and here's what number 7 said. It's a one-play-at-a-time game, and what you do on the previous down does not matter. You got to stay in the moment. You got to execute in the moment. One play at a time. Nothing you did the last game, last season, last week, in practice, none of that stuff matters. Man, it's about executing on game day, getting to the game, and play at a time, doing your job every single guy. That's what Geno Smith had to say. And what I find interesting about that quote is maybe you should show it to Pete Carroll. And because to me, the only reason why Geno doesn't have to compete for his job, the only reason why Geno Smith is still a starter of this team, the only reason why you're not making an adjustment at the quarterback position, or at least thinking about it, is because of everything Geno Smith did with the Raiders, or with Pete Carroll, with the Seattle Seahawks, and with that previous regime. I mean, Geno just said it. Doesn't matter what you did in the years past. Doesn't matter what you did the week before. I agree. You know what does matter, though? The moment when you're playing, when it's that bad, it does matter what you did last game. It does matter what you did the last play, because when you show us on film that you clearly aren't the quarterback that we traded for, when you show clearly on film that you're not the guy that we extended, when you clearly show that Geno Smith is not the quarterback that he was the last 3 seasons, in Seattle, you can make those decisions. But Geno also goes on and he says this: all 11 doing their job on all sides of the ball, taking the approach that we're going to get it done. There is nothing else that matters. This is the big boy league. This is the NFL. It's the best of the best, and you got to go out there and you got to get it done. Like I said, until we figure that out, we're going to have the same results. So I want y'all to let Geno Smith hear what you got to say, because Geno also said something that rubbed me the wrong way, and he was like, Raider Nation needs to be patient. Listen to Pete Carroll. He says, Raider Nation needs to be patient. I've been patient. We've been patient. I think, honestly, we've been overly patient. But you just get to a point where soon enough is enough. And I just need to know if we're moving in the right direction. So here's what I'm going to say. I can't guarantee Geno Smith's going to see this, because Geno Smith has blocked me from being able to comment at him, which I think is very soft. Geno, what do you want to say to Geno Smith right now? My answer, my message to the Raiders quarterback here after this YouTube ad break. My message to Geno Smith: great leaders find solutions to problems. It is time for Geno Smith to either earn and, what's the right way to say it? It's now time for Geno Smith to earn that captain status. It is time for Geno Smith to prove to Raider Nation that he is deserving to be the franchise quarterback, that he is deserving of $66 million, because the play on the field hasn't shown it. The body language off the field hasn't shown it. The words at the podium mean absolutely nothing. Talk is cheap, Geno, when you don't back it up. And you're somebody that said you want to write back. I think it's time you should start writing back, because the Geno Smith that I saw in Seattle compared to the Geno Smith that I see right now at the Raiders, it's almost like somebody switched bodies and there's some sort of Freaky Friday situation going on. But you said it too. This is big boy football. And you said the best are playing out there. You're not one of the best right now. And if this is big boy football, then Pete Carroll needs to treat you like a big boy and sit you down and say, hey, if you're not going to play your best football, we got to look at our other options. Because if your ego is too much to be able to have the Raiders go out and make the proper adjustments, because, again, I'm using the word ego a lot. but I don't know what else it is at this point. I don't know if it's a Pete Carroll ego issue. I don't know if it's a Geno Smith ego issue. I don't know if it's a Chip Kelly ego issue. But right now, talk is cheap. And you're saying a lot of shit and you're not backing it up. But to me, let's find solutions to our problems. Instead of saying all 11 guys got to get on the same page, no effing shit, Geno. No effing shit. But let's make an adjustment here. And if you're not man enough to sit down and talk to those players, if Max Crosby's not man enough to sit down and talk to those players, if A.J. Cole's not man enough to sit down and talk to those players, take the C off your chest. You don't deserve it. Coming up next here, more Raiders storylines entering Week 6 against the Tennessee Titans. But, good news, Prize Picks still rocking with us here on the Raiders Report. And you and I make decisions every single day. But being right can get you paid over on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, there is a new feature. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Geno Smith interceptions? Want to pick less on Geno Smith completion percentage? Want to pick less on Geno Smith touchdowns? Well, guess what? You can do that now over on Prize Picks. And it can only be done on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. If you want to go with a flex play, if you want to go with a power play, also that is totally up to you, which is something that I love that Prize Picks offers. So let's play a little bit of a game here. And let's just say you and I are sitting down in a room. We can put a Prize Picks lineup in, and it says 0.5 interceptions for Geno Smith. Would you say that he's going to throw more? Type more. If you're like less, type less. If this to you is an easy decision to make, then you should absolutely, positively go download the Prize Picks app today, because that's what Prize Picks is. In a very frustrating season, if you put in a lineup, it's going to give you something to root for. It's going to give you something to cheer for. And as bad as this season has been for the Raiders, I need everything I possibly can get my hands on in terms of cheering and rooting for. So, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Speaking of being right, our secondary is flipping garbage. It's garbage. Isaiah Paul-Mal's bad. We keep playing soft zone coverage, 3 safety high, and we're just not making any adjustments. Another adjustment that we're not making is we're just going to keep on rolling out Kyu Blu Kelly, throwing him to the flipping Sharks. And I hate to say I told you so, Pete, but I told you so, Pete. Our cornerback room stinks. We need help. We've had money to be able to go out and add a corner all offseason. Maybe no corners want to play for the Raiders. I don't know. But Kyu Blu Kelly has been cut by multiple other rosters. He's somebody that, quite frankly, I don't know if is good enough to be on some other team's practice squad. But yet, he continues to start for us. And I get it. He was out there competing. And I get it. He was out there doing a lot of the right things that he was doing during the practice. I hear you. But when you look at game substitutions, the Raiders sub package are dead last in the NFL. What does that tell me? That they don't have confidence in a lot of their other depth right now for the Raiders cornerback room. But I thought Pete Carroll was supposed to be a cornerback whisperer. I don't know what he's whispering to Kyu Blu Kelly. I don't know what he's whispering to Darian Porter. I don't know what he's whispering right now to DeCamerion Richardson, but whatever he's whispering is it's got to be giving them swimmers here, because either they're not listening or there's a lot of shitty things that are being said, because Kyu Blu Kelly has been horrible this season. He has allowed 346 yards this season. That is the most in the NFL. If you want to just know who the second closest guy is, Riley Moss from the Denver Broncos has allowed 262, which means, basically, the one Raiders corner has allowed almost 80 yards more than the next closest guy. Why? Because our system is broken. Because we're not generating pressure. We're asking guys to play soft zone, and we don't have guys that can cover. It's an absolute joke, and it just proves that we don't know our players well. But I could have told you that. The nation could have told you that, but at least you're too stubborn to freaking realize it. Let's go to the final storyline here, and it's, will Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer return against the Titans? I sure hope so. Based on what I've been told, Brock is a coin flip, and that's only because our coaching staff doesn't necessarily know where Brock Bowers sits right now. But here's another malpractice. If Bowers was told by the medical staff that the only way that his knee is going to be able to heal is with rest, if after as soon as Bowers played in week 2, I saw that he wasn't healthy. You guys could tell that he wasn't healthy. We all could tell that he wasn't healthy. So what are we doing with our number one player on the offensive side of the football? We're just not putting these guys in the right situations. If both of these players do play, I think we have a chance to win. If Bowers and Mayer are unable to go, I'm hoping that Mayer's able to go after missing that concussion. Again, he was practicing in the red jersey, which kind of aligns with what happened to JPJ earlier in the offseason. But the other major storyline that people are going to be talking about is what's happening in that locker room. And there's going to be more details that come out. I'm going to do some more digging myself. But with the news of Jermaine Pratt getting released, and again, if you did not see that news that the Raiders released Jermaine Pratt, there's some confliction right now in that locker room between players and coaches, and that's got to be another storyline that we decide to discuss here on this show. And I think we got to discuss it as a fan base. I think we got to be able to get this more attention out there because there is some clear friction right now in that locker room. Before I get out of here, I saw a lot of comments today, and I picked out 3 comments that they made me enjoy what I do. And again, when the Raiders stink, I just see comments, and they do, man. They cheer me up. So to Jake Rain, we appreciate your dedication year in and year out. Even the Raiders continue to disappoint. I'm never going to give up on the nation, just like I hope that y'all never give up on me. So, I know we got Noti gang, and I know we got real ones on here and people that bang and do a bunch of crazy shit. But if you don't think that I look at the comments every single day, you're even more senile than Pete Carroll and this coaching staff. In terms of Atheist, is that Militants? Hope I pronounced that right. Great video, Mitch. I know it hurts, but it was a video that was needed to be done. Thank you, sir. Now, all these comments are from my Overreaction Monday video that I put out, and I didn't know how it was going to turn, right? If you didn't see my video, you should definitely go check it out. It's not me hosting, I'll tell you that. Jacob, love you, Mitch. I'm a diehard too, man, but this has to stop. Thanks for making us the biggest voice in the NFL. If you made it this far in the video and you want your voice to be heard, the number one way any Raiders fan voice is going to be heard is if you subscribe to the Raiders Report. I can be loud. You can be loud. But we are very, very loud together. It's proven time and time again that our voice can be heard here on the Raiders Report.